This is Module 1, Linear Economy. The speaker is Valerio Alessandroni from EACEA, Estonian Filbas Competency Center. Let's speak about the linear economy.
Ever pondered about the state of our economy today? Ever wondered if there's a more sustainable way to operate, to consume, to produce? These questions bring us to a fascinating comparison between the linear economy and the circular economy. Now, imagine an economy as a straight line, a start, a middle, and an end. This is the linear economy, a take-make-waste model. It begins with resource extraction, followed by manufacturing, then consumption, and finally, disposal. The end of the line, sadly, often means an end to the usefulness of the resources. It's a one-way street where resources transform into waste. However, there's an alternative model, the circular economy. Picture an economy as a circle, an endless loop with no start or finish. In a circular economy, resources are not just taken, made, and wasted. Instead, they are reused, recycled, and recovered, creating a closed loop where waste becomes a new resource. It's an economy where nothing is lost and everything is transformed. Now let's delve deeper. The linear economy, with its finite line, has served us well. It fueled industrial growth, technological advancements, and economic prosperity. But it's not without its drawbacks. With finite resources and an ever-growing population, this model is proving unsustainable. It's a model that thrives on consumption, and unfortunately, that consumption often leads to environmental degradation. On the other hand, the circular economy presents a paradigm shift. It's an economy that values restoration and regeneration. It not only aims to reduce waste, but also to design it out of the system entirely. It's about creating a system that is regenerative by design, a system that is restorative and resilient. So, where do we stand? Are we on a straight line heading towards resource depletion and environmental degradation? Or are we on a circular path, rethinking our consumption and production patterns, aiming for a sustainable and resilient economy? To summarize, today we've explored the concepts of the linear economy and the circular economy. We've seen how the linear economy follows a take-make-waste model, leading to resource depletion and environmental degradation. Conversely, we've discovered how the circular economy aims for a closed-loop system, where waste is not an end, but a beginning, a model that is regenerative and resilient. In this exploration, we've uncovered a crucial question, a question of sustainability, a question of resilience. As we stand at the crossroads, it's time to ponder, to question, to rethink. It's time to choose our path. Will it be a straight line or an endless loop?
And as we know, humans produce too much waste nowadays. We make products, consume them, and then throw them away, littering our planet in the process. In the natural world, there isn't any rubbish or landfill. Energy is provided by the sun, one species' waste is another's food, and when things die, their nutrients return to the soil, in a circle of life. Unfortunately, humans do things in a more linear way. When we want the latest phone or computer, we tend to throw away the old one. When our dishwasher breaks, we buy a brand new one. But this wasteful approach, known as linear economy, isn't working. We are running out of resources to make new things with, and we are producing too much toxic waste. That's why we need to move to a circular economy inspired by the natural world, where everything has a value and nothing is wasted. Instead of throwing away your broken things, why not to fix them? It can be much easier than you think. For instance, repair cafes all around the UK and Ireland provide tools, materials, and advice to people who want to get mending, whether it's furniture, bicycles, electrical appliances, clothes, crockery, or toys. Let's look at the linear economy more in detail. Between the mid-19th and early 20th centuries, the Western world went through the so-called Second Industrial Revolution. Inventions, new discoveries, and the organization of factory labor allowed Europe and the United States to produce more goods at a lower cost. As living conditions also improved, the number of potential consumers grew exponentially, along with sales and subsequent request to produce even more products. This economic system has been defined as linear and has three main phases: take, make, and dispose. Linear economy is the traditional model where raw materials are collected and transformed into products that consumers use until discarding them as waste, with no concern for their ecological footprint and consequences. It prioritizes profit over sustainability, with products made to be thrown away once they have been used. The linear model has been the primary one of advanced countries throughout the last century. A company's value was based on how much it could produce and sell, and the higher it sells, the higher its profits. A UNEP, United Nations Environmental Programme, report predicts that if the current rate of growth and consumption stays the same, the demand for natural resources will double by 2050. The problem is that by then, those resources will not be available. This path for economic growth and prosperity is depleting the Earth ecosystems, which have been impacted substantially and irreversibly. It's clear that a linear economy is no longer sustainable. The survival of our planet and us demands a radical shift. In this scenario, a circular economy can be the wave of the future. Examples of linear economy implementation are fossil fuel-driven energy development, paper production without reforestation, afforestation, synthetic plastic production, chemical-based crop production, and disposable inorganic packaging. Fossil fuel-driven energy development is a classic example of linear economy implementation, especially when fossil fuels are relied upon as the sole energy resource for economic development. The main reason for this is the fact that fossil fuels are non-renewable and must be continuously extracted in order to be used to provide energy for electricity generation and other purposes. This implies that fossil fuels do not fit the concept of conservative production and consumption, which is typical of a circular economy. Fossil fuel dependence also facilitates the negative effect which a linear economy tends to have on the environment. When used, most fossil fuels produce significant amounts of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, as well as toxins that contribute to air pollution. Coal, natural gas, and petroleum all fit the take-make-waste linear economic model because they occur in finite quantity and are bound to become exhausted and scarce. Although paper production depends on renewable biomass from trees, it can fall into the model of take-make-waste, provided adequate measures to regenerate raw materials and recycle used paper products are not taken. The main disadvantage of making paper from trees is the risk of deforestation that accompanies such economic practice. Because linear economies focus on maximizing instantaneous production and profit, it is not uncommon for large-scale production of paper to result in eventual loss of forests. A linear economic model of plastic industry is one in which synthetic materials are used to manufacture plastics that are used by consumers and subsequently discarded as waste in landfills, incinerators, and other waste management media. Often, linear plastic production goes along with fossil fuel dependency challenges because raw materials used in the manufacture of synthetic plastics can be derived from fossil fuels. The most prominent environmental consequence of synthetic plastic production in a linear economy is plastic pollution. Marine pollution by discarded plastic alone is accountable for trillions of US dollars in economic losses per year on a global scale. The production and degradation of synthetic plastics causes environmental degradation by the release of toxins, gaseous byproducts, and microplastics into the environment. It is fairly common in a linear economy for agriculture to be practiced in a subsistence intensive form, which is characterized by the use of chemicals to enhance instantaneous yield while resources are poorly managed in the long term. Chemical fertilizer, herbicides, and pesticides have the obvious benefit of rapid effectiveness and fit the objective of mass production and maximum profit in a linear economy scenario. Linear economy production in agriculture also encourages intensive use of machinery and excessive consumption of water resources. These applications mount pressure on natural resources and are unsustainable in the long run. The linear model of plastics involves an unidirectional pathway of production, usage, and disposal. One of the evidences of this is the popularity of disposable inorganic packaging. Disposable inorganic packaging refers to packaging with materials that are not biodegradable and are designed for one-time usage. These materials constitute a large portion of inorganic waste, which is a major cause of aesthetic pollution by littering in urban areas. In addition to littering, the fact that these packaging materials are disposed of implies that their popularity in the market comes with a high risk of resource depletion, at least with respect to the raw materials used in their manufacture. The sustainability of any industry or business depends on the ability to conserve resources by recycling and reuse. This implies that it is recommendable to replace the disposable take-make-waste model with a more circular one. Let's have a look to the disadvantages of the current linear economy. The linear economy results from business practices that assume a constant supply of natural resources. These had resulted in the take-make-dispose mentality that we know so well. This mentality is based on the extraction of resources, the production of goods and services, and the disposal of post-consumer waste. However, this approach is coming under increasing pressure because of its environment and economic The ecological disadvantage of the linear economy is that the production of goods is at the expense of the productivity of our ecosystems. Excessive pressure on these ecosystems jeopardizes the provision of essential ecosystem services such as water, air, and soil cleaning. All these steps of the take, make, dispose mentality affect ecosystem services in different ways. The collection of raw materials leads to high energy and water consumption, emission of toxic substances, and disruption of natural capital such as forests and lakes. Product formation is also often accompanied by high energy and water consumption and toxic emissions. Eventually, when these products are discarded, space is taken up from natural areas and toxic substances are often also emitted. What are the ecological benefits of the circular economy? The plastic soap is an example. A lot of plastic is only used for a short period of time, so you can quickly go through the take, make, dispose step-by-step plan. As a result, more than 300 million tons of new plastics are produced worldwide each year. Of these, 5 million tons ends up in the oceans. This consists of plastic waste that is dumped on land, in the sea, or in the sewer system. Most of this plastic is originally dumped on land, but washes to the sea via rivers and canals. Another category is microbeads. These are tiny granulates of plastics that are used in care products, such as in shampoos and scrubs. Eventually, the plastic is divided into smaller particles by degradation and fragmentation. Toxic substances may be released during this process. In addition, all kinds of animals see the plastic waste and the microbeads for food. In this way, the plastic disturbs the food chain of fish, which can also damage our own health. In this way, the production of plastic in the take, may, dispose step-by-step plan harms the supply of fish as an ecosystem service for the ocean and the seas. What about the economic disadvantages of the linear economy? In addition to the damage caused by the linear economy to the provision of ecosystem services, this economic model also jeopardizes the supply of materials. This uncertainty is caused by fluctuation raw material prices, scarce materials, geopolitical dependencies on different materials, and increasing demand. These problems are solved in a circular economy. Let's explain the risk. Let's start from the fluctuation raw material prices. Since years, the level and fluctuation of raw material prices have significantly increased. This not only creates problems for buyers of raw materials, but it also creates greater risks in the market. This in turn discourages investments in the extraction and processing of materials, which can ensure that raw material prices continue to rise over time. In addition, these price fluctuations prevent companies from making price forecasts, which gives them a weaker competitive position than companies that are less material dependent. Another side is critical materials. This is another advantage of the current linear economic system because much is produced with scarce materials. A number of industries make intensive use of critical materials for their production processes, such as indium and chromium. Just think about the battery production for electric vehicles. These materials are only available to a very limited extent. In particular, the metal industry, the computer and electronic industry, the electric equipment industry, and the automotive and vehicle industries make use of these raw materials. Another disadvantage is the interdependence. As a result of the increase in trade, the geopolitical interconnectedness of products has become increasingly strong. For example, countries with water scarcity but a surplus of trade oil to buy grain. As a result, these raw materials are, as it were, linked to each other. In addition, the production process of many goods depends on water and fuels. As a result of this interdependence, the scarcity of one raw material will have a widespread effect on the prices and availability of many more goods. Another disadvantage is the increase in material demand. In addition to the limited supply of raw materials availability anyway, a significant increase in demand for materials is also predicted. As a result of population and welfare growth, the number of middle-class consumers with a higher demand for material consumption will increase by 3 billion by 2030. In addition, the lifespan of products has decreased dramatically in recent years, and this is one of the driving forces behind the increasing consumptions of materials in the Western world. Product lifespan is still decreasing because there is a process of positive feedback. Consumers want new products faster and faster, and therefore use their old products shorter. This in turn means that less quality is needed in a product's life cycle, which in turn leads to consumers wanting new products even faster. In conclusion, the traditional linear economy pattern follows the take, make, dispose scheme. This method of production is maximizing the use of collected raw materials before it transforms them into products, eventually disposing of unusable material. Linear economy value is created by mass production and the selling of products. Due to this scheme, which is similar to a flat line, the linear economy can be found under the name open cycle. The main problem that arises with this production approach, the so-called open cycle, is the irrational usage of the available resources. During the process of production, resources are generally not implemented in the final product. This creates a double negative effect because it negatively affects both the environment and the climate changes. Linear economy exhausts raw materials and energy, which results in CO2 emissions. Statistically, around 68% of input raw materials are non-renewable nature, which poses a grave problem and threat to the environment, given that these products are either detonated or burnt. Besides the severe damage to the biosphere, the downfall of the linear economy is human exploitation as well. This system puts an emphasis on the products themselves, and the outcome of such an equation is mass production and consumption. Yet, to supplement the market's needs, The economy exploits workers. The linear economy, therefore, is based on four main stages: extracting raw materials and consuming energy, transforming these resources into finished products, distributing these products for consumption, and discarding these products or part of them when they reach the end of their life. This economic model developed considerably during the Industrial Revolution at a time when resources were abundant and mass consumption was in its infancy. With globalization, the linear economy, based on the principle of extract, manufacture, consume, and throw away, has become considerably more widespread, resulting in a symptomatic and senseless phenomenon: planned obsolescence. It now appears that this model is not sustainable in the long term, and there are many reasons for this: resource depletion, global warming, erosion of biodiversity, increased waste, world population increase, etc. If no effort is made to further preserve the world's ecosystem, humanity as a whole is at risk. Every year, humans are depleting the planet's regenerative capacity earlier and earlier. Just think that in 1970, this famous Earth Overshoot Day was on December 29th. In 2022, it was on July 28th. Fortunately, there is a communal awareness of this issue among public authorities, citizens, and companies. It was after observing this that sustainable development and then the circular economy finally emerged. But now, to conclude this video, let's consider a practical example of circular economy. In this second part, we will give an example of circular economy, and the example in question is Christmas decorations. We know that the shops in the last part of the year are full of Christmas decorations that people buy and put around in the houses, on the presents, in the streets, in the gardens, and so on. When Christmas is finished and the new year has begun, normally these decorations are put in some box or just thrown away. So the question is, why we don't try to use circular economy to build Christmas decorations that, as you can see, are very nice from recycled materials. The basic material that was used in this case is an old coat, a green coat that was bought maybe 30 or even more years ago, used by many people, and then given to a second-hand shop. So this coat was bought for very low cost, and with the initiative of some girl doing this decoration, the coat was cut in many pieces. Of course, some pieces are large because they come from the back of the coat or from parts where the textile is abundant. Some other parts are smaller because they come from sleeves, from pockets, or from other parts of the coat that are smaller. Nothing was wasted. So you can see that from the coat we have big Christmas trees, we have medium Christmas trees, and very small Christmas trees, or even decorations made with parts that otherwise would be discarded. The trees need to stand, so inside the trees something had to be put. And also this part was recycled. What is it? It's seaweed. You can see here in the bottom a potato bag, so also the bag is recycled. The potato bag is full of seaweeds that after the use for this Christmas decoration will return to the nature again, because the seaweeds will become powder, will be melted with other natural discards in the nature. So no pollution at all. But now look at the Christmas trees themselves. On the Christmas trees you can see some decorations. These decorations come from some old Christmas previous decoration that was reused here. You can see on every tree there are this kind of decoration. Then there are some other decorations coming from broken hair clip that were available and were reused in every tree. You can see that there are parts made with ribbons. These ribbons come sometimes from old dresses that they were used for hanging the dress, or come from a candy box or from other sources. So instead of throwing the ribbons away, they were used to hang these decorations. Inside these circular decorations, you can see something that was found in the environment, in the house, and was used again. These brown parts come from the Estonian National Opera. They were part of some costume, so they were recycled here in this Christmas decoration. Also, the thread comes from some old stock that is now reused. You can see here two colors, thread from a reuse center. And the artisan, the deus ex machina of all this work is this very old mechanical sewing machine, 35 years old mechanical sewing machine that is here in the middle, and that was used to sew all the trees, all the decorations that you can see in this exhibition. So this is a clear example of circular economy. Of course, there are other parts that I could describe if I had more time. For instance, this part comes from an old part of cibuls that was found near a vegetable shop. This cibul part was used as a standing part for this candle, and all these at the end of the Christmas can be recycled and reused. Nothing is thrown away, and what is thrown away, it will not pollute the environment, because everything is natural. Everything can be recycled or melted into the nature as powder or as some waste that is not absolutely polluting.
Once upon a time, in the land of Abundantia, there lived a clever little squirrel named Nutty. Nutty loved collecting acorns. Every autumn, Nutty would gather acorns from the forest floor, carry them back to his home, and store them for the winter. Once the winter was over, Nutty would throw the leftover shells away and start all over again in the next autumn. This, dear friends, is a simple example of a linear economy. A linear economy works much like Nutty's acorn collection. It's a take, make, waste process. We take resources from the earth, make products out of them, and once we're done, we dispose of them, often creating waste that cannot be reused or recycled. It's like Nutty gathering acorns, eating them, and throwing away the shells. Now, imagine if instead of throwing away the shells, Nutty found a way to use them. Perhaps he could grind them into a powder and use it to fertilize the soil around the acorn trees, helping more acorns to grow next year. This would be a circular economy. In a circular economy, there is no waste as such. Resources are kept in use for as long as possible, and waste is minimized by turning it back into useful resources. It's all about designing products and systems to be reused, repaired, and recycled, creating a circle of life for resources, much like Nutty turning his acorn shells into fertilizer. Linear and circular economies are two different ways of thinking about how we use resources. The linear model is how most of our world works today, but it's not very sustainable. We're using up resources faster than the Earth can replace them, and we're creating a lot of waste that harms our environment. On the other hand, a circular economy aims to solve these problems. By reusing and recycling, we can reduce waste and make the most of our resources. It's a way of living that's kinder to our planet and can even be more economical in the long run. In summary, a linear economy is a straight line. Take, make, waste. It's like Nutty collecting acorns, eating them, and throwing away the shells. A circular economy, however, is a loop. Resources are reused and recycled, with waste turned back into useful resources. It's like Nutty using his acorn shells to help grow more acorns. Both linear and circular economies affect our lives and our planet. The choices we make, whether to throw away or to reuse, to waste or to recycle, shape the world we live in. And just like Nutty, we can all play a part in making our world a better place.